Hey everybody, you're watching We the Fandom, where we discuss comic books, pop culture, and the fandom experience. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more content. So I was not even aware that Obi-Wan was coming out today. I didn't know the schedule, I just assumed it was coming out at the end of the week, so it was a pretty nice surprise. And this episode was really good. I know we've only had 3 episodes so far, but this is easily the best one. We get Darth Vader. And yes, I am a simple Star Wars fan. Seeing Darth Vader is enough to get me excited. And we get him right away. The episode starts off with Obi-Wan meditating and remembering the pivotal moments from his past involving Vader, or rather Anakin. Meanwhile, Darth Vader is going through what you could call his morning routine, coming out of the bacta tank, having his cybernetic appendages attached, as well as his cloak and helmet. And right after his helmet is put on, it zooms in and you start to hear the mechanical breathing. And then it goes back to Obi-Wan's face as he says he's coming. That right there is exactly how someone should react to the mere thought of Vader coming after them, and it was great. Now, Leia and the third sister still have a sizable part in this episode, but they are easily overshadowed by Vader's presence, even though he's only seen about 4 times. Leia and Obi-Wan basically end up on the desert planet after having escaped the planet Dio in the last episode. They end up having to fight some stormtroopers and end up being helped by a double agent within the Empire. Now, it was nice seeing Leia be somewhat helpless in this episode, like you would expect a kid to be, instead of the irritating know-it-all from the first couple of episodes. Don't get me wrong, she still has the attitude, but she was facing the Empire this time, not some incompetent kidnappers. I also have to say the third sister is a lot more tolerable in this episode as well. And I don't know what it is exactly about her portrayal, but it's just very inconsistent. Most of the time, I find her to be annoying and always seemingly showing off even when nobody's around, and just barking generic villain nonsense. But occasionally, you'll see a small inkling of a personality, and in those scenes, I think, you know what? If she was written like that way more consistently, I could see myself actually liking the character. We get to see the Inquisitor's fortress, which was pretty cool, although I would have much rather seen Vader's fortress. There's still 3 more episodes to go, so hopefully we'll get to see it. To me, the question still hasn't been answered on whether or not this throws out Star Wars Rebels as a series, because Vader promises the third sister that the Grand Inquisitor spot can be hers if she finds Kenobi, as if the Grand Inquisitor is already dead for sure. This also makes me wonder, again, if the Grand Inquisitor's spot was all the third sister wanted. Her motivations to me still isn't clear, and I think that's probably the biggest reason as to why people take issue with her character. You can't relate to or really like a character when you have no idea what their motivation is, and she's a completely new character, so we have nothing to draw on except for this show. An interesting Easter egg, which happens about midway through the episode, and something that I hope will lead to seeing this character in the show, is Quinlan Voss's name being dropped. Now, for those who don't know or don't remember, Quinlan Voss was a Jedi who appeared in the Clone Wars series, being seen as somewhat of a hippie even amongst the Jedi, though he first appeared in the Expanded Universe material. When the Imperial double agent brings Obi-Wan and Leia to her hideout in the town, there are markings all over the wall, and she explains how they are basically a smuggling operation known as the Path, helping Force sensitives escape the Empire, usually to a planet called Jabin, where they're set up with new identities. And she mentions that Quinlan Voss typically helps out with them. And it's interesting that they're drawing on the Expanded Universe because in that previously canon lore, he was one of the few Jedi that escaped the Purge and had helped other escaped Jedi. So they basically brought in that expanded lore and now made it canon. But towards the end, we get what we're all hoping for. Vader and the Inquisitors come down to the planet as the Imperial agent and Leia go into the escape tunnel. Obi-Wan senses Vader's presence and decides to wait and watch from within the hideout. Absolutely terrified once he sees Vader, and Vader is just kind of walking the main street, and he starts force choking random citizens, trying to draw Obi-Wan out of hiding. But Obi-Wan is smart, or maybe just, very tentative, and takes the duel just outside of town into kind of this mining area. Though once Vader catches up to him, he keeps trying to run away, he's trying to stall, and trying to find, a location that's a little bit brighter, as Vader can just easily come out of the shadows and surprise him. Now, this quote-unquote duel, if you can even call it that, is very one-sided. Obi-Wan isn't using the Force, and as Vader mentions, he's grown physically weaker over the years. Vader is just wailing on him with his lightsaber one-handed, while Obi-Wan is just trying to survive. Vader ends up knocking over a barrel of some flammable materials, ignites it with his lightsaber, and uses the Force to pick Obi-Wan up and drag him through the flames, trying to make him burn just like his old former master left him to burn on Mustafar. And the scene is absolutely brutal. but Obi-Wan is saved by the Imperial agent who had come back for him. She ends up taking him to Jabin, and the search for him has to basically start all over again. Also, the third sister ends up kidnapping Leia again because she was left alone, and here I had hoped that we were going to be done with Leia. I suppose it could be interesting to see Vader and Leia meet for the first time, though I have a feeling they're not going to have that happen in the last 3 episodes. Now, to close out this video, I want to talk about this portrayal of Darth Vader. This isn't a complaint exactly, more of an observation, and that's his presence in the show just feels different. And I don't think it's because of Hayden Christensen playing him, because we only see his face at the beginning of the episode. And James Earl Jones returned to do the voice, or at least it seems like he did. It's just that in previous stories, such as the original trilogy and in Rogue One, there was just this air of absolute supremacy that surrounded Vader. And maybe you can chalk it up to age. There's another 10 years, at least, before the events of the original trilogy, but still, there's just this feeling that it's more like we're seeing Anakin still learning to fight in this new body than we are seeing Darth Vader in his full power. So maybe we'll see him come into his own by the end of the series. I mentioned at the very beginning of the video how excited I was just by seeing Darth Vader there, and that's because people who have only seen the live-action canon material have no idea what Vader is truly capable of. They've only seen the original trilogy where Force-wielding, lightsaber-wielding characters were, duels were stiff and slow, special and practical effects weren't as good, so seeing characters flip and jump, seeing the Force being used wasn't as cool as it could have been. Not that it wasn't cool for the time that it came out, but seeing modern Star Wars just makes me realize what that could have been like. So you have the original trilogy, and you have that scene in Rogue One, that final scene where he's in the hallway leading up to the moments of A New Hope at the end, where Vader is just cutting through the rebels. And that was amazing, but it was only about 30 seconds long. That was just a tiny taste of what Vader can do. If you've read the Expanded Universe comics or even the canon Disney comics, Darth Vader is capable of so much more, and this show is an opportunity to demonstrate that. But we're already 3 episodes in. This show started, 5 days ago, and we're already halfway through. So if you enjoyed this video and enjoy my channel, I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. I'll see you all next time. Bye.